Hello, my friends. While we wait for my video of my cauliflower crust tasty plant-based healthy pizza uploads to Facebook, I wanted to make a little video about something that's been weighing on my mind very heavily since I learned about something I was very ignorant about just a short time ago. I was extremely ignorant about the Confederate monuments and statues that are all around the country. I thought, I didn't really know what to think about them, to be honest with you. There's an argument being made that, it's about our heritage. We got to keep them up because it's erasing history to delete them or get rid of them. And I always thought, well, the Confederate dudes were not good people. They fought to own slaves, so it doesn't make any sense. But that's all the thought that I gave it. And I figured maybe there's a valid argument behind, well, it's part of our history, our heritage. And I was very ignorant to the fact that that's not it at all. Did you know that almost all of the Confederate statues and monuments that are dotted around the country, they were put there by the sons and daughters of the Confederacy between 17 years after the Civil War and 100 years after, a century after the Civil War, as the Civil Rights era was happening, the Civil Rights Movement and Jim Crow. So those statues and monuments have nothing to do with heritage. It has everything to do with a big FU to the Civil Rights Movement. Nobody of any good quality would give an FU to the Civil Rights Movement, and as intimidation towards black people. It's the only reason those statues and monuments were ever erected or exist. This has nothing to do with heritage or history or anything like that. If an argument could be made that it's heritage history, then those statues would have been erected during or right after the Civil War ended. But they weren't. It was many years after as a FU to the Civil Rights Movement. I just thought you all should know that. I didn't know that. I was ignorant of that. And now that I know that, I'm like, even before I thought, yeah, it makes sense to remove them. But now I'm like, fervently in favor of all of those being removed. Building statues and monuments in reverence to glorify people of the Confederacy makes no sense. It would be just as vile and cretinous if we were to erect statues and monuments in reverence to the 9/11 terrorists that killed 4,000 some odd Americans. We would never erect statues and monuments to the terrorists that killed Americans. That would make no sense. That would get protests. It wouldn't even happen. It would never be even a second thought. But the Confederacy, we give statues and monuments in reverence to them. The 9/11 terrorists killed 4,000 some odd American people. The Confederacy killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. The Confederacy waged war against America, just like those terrorists did and still do. The Confederacy are traitors. They committed an act of treason. They're sellouts. Why would we build statues and monuments and keep them there to this day to people that waged war against America? That makes no God blessed flippin' sense. That's sick. Has nothing to do with heritage or history. They're going to be in the history books. There's no rational person that's advocating erasing history. How do you connect the dots between removing reverence to terrorists that sold out America and committed treason and acts of treasonous, what's the word I'm looking for, just being a traitor? How do we connect the dots to people that waged war against America and killed hundreds of thousands of Americans? How do we connect those dots to erasing history if we remove reverence to those terrorists that are traitors to this country? We can't. You can't connect those dots because that doesn't make any sense. That would be the same thing as saying that we can't build statues and monuments in reverence to terrorists that attacked us on 9/11 and killed Americans for the same. You see where I'm going with this. There's no difference between the Confederacy and the terrorists that attacked us on 9/11, except the terrorists were never Americans. The Confederacy once was American, but then they committed an act of treason. That's the only difference. Otherwise, they're just the same. They waged war against America, killed American people, but the Confederacy killed way more Americans than the terrorists did on 9/11. So people arguing to keep those statues up, they're either ignorant to that fact, as I was just a short time ago, or maybe some of them aren't ignorant to that and they're just truly racist people. And I know the word racist is thrown around so loosely. I don't throw that around loosely, especially in this video. So I truly believe in my heart of hearts, and I hope to God I'm right on this, that most people, the overwhelming majority of most people that are arguing to keep the monuments and statues up of Confederate soldiers and so forth, I believe they don't know why those statues and monuments are there or what the motivation was behind them. Otherwise, they'd be in favor of tearing all those motherfuckers down too and putting them in museums or cemeteries, wherever it's not in a place of reverence. There's going to be a few here and there that know full well that those statues and monuments, the only reason they're there is to give a big F you to the civil rights movement and to intimidate black people. I mean, we know that there are genuine bona fide racists in this country. But I hope to God I'm right that the majority of people that are in favor of keeping these statues and monuments just are not aware of why those statues and monuments are there, just as I was ignorant just a short time ago. So I guess that's why I'm making this video. Take down all those statues and monuments and make people aware why. Don't just take them down, but make people aware why. It had nothing to do with heritage. It's all about the sons and daughters of the Confederacy, sympathizers to the Confederacy, that erected those statues 17 years and 100 years after the Civil War, during the time of Jim Crow and during the time of the Civil Rights Movement. They were erected as a big FU to civil rights and also to intimidate black people. It's the only reason they are there. So put them in museums. And there's no line that can be drawn between that and removing history. Nobody's of rational mind is talking about erasing history and rewriting history. That doesn't make any sense. There's no line that can be drawn from removing those statues and monuments that are made in reverence to them and erasing or rewriting history. It's a mute point that doesn't make any sense. So tear them all down and make people aware of why they need to be torn down. Because most people, I suspect, are just as ignorant as I was a short time ago. So please share this. Please share. And if you want to know more about me, my name is Tom Birkenmeier. I even have a website, tombirkenmeier.com. I blog all kinds of stuff. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.